Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. We are here today with the man himself, Steve Haviland from Business Technology Solutions Group. And well, Steve's got a product that he invented, created called Pipsqueak Network Scanner. And today we're going to learn about Pipsqueak and how it can help convert leads into sales. Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself and your IT background.
Yeah. So I've been running my MSP for 18 years. We're going on, in fact, next month in just a few days, it'll be July 9th, will be our 19th anniversary in business for the MSP
Congrats.
side of the business. And so that's really cool. But that maybe dates me a little bit too. I've been around the block a few times. Um, but yeah, I started out. Back in 2009 and just not even really knowing what the MSP thing was and doing like most of us back then and even earlier doing a lot of break fix and I learned over time in the channel and over time in the industry, what an MSP was, and started to move my clients over to contracts and stuff like that. And today we've branched out into doing some SaaS type of work, doing some software development type of work. We are still true to our MSP roots. We have a large and thriving MSP across North Texas and Southern Oklahoma. So that's a little bit about me, Scott.
Awesome. When you first started, were you a one-man band at the
Uh,
time?
oh yeah, so say we all, right? Back then, I was playing the drums, I was playing the guitar, and I was doing everything in between, running around like a one-armed paper hanger, and it's been an interesting journey, right? Because you start out and you're a one-man show and you're doing and you know I don't know about a lot of the viewers. For me, it was, I had this notion of starting a business, but I had no idea what that really entailed until I was actually in the trenches. And then all of a sudden, you learn, okay, I have to do sales and I have to do marketing and I have to do billing and finances, and then I also have to be a technician, and I also have to be an engineer and an architect, and like figure all these things out. And not only do you have to do that all in real time, but then you have to find some time in the 80 hours or more that you're working at the beginning to sit down and like actually write out what you're doing so that people that you hire later on, you can bring them in and they can do the thing, right?
Yep.
Which and so it's an enormous lift. Like anyone who lives this life, especially in the early years, knows it's an enormous lift to get the business up off the ground. Now,
Yep.
once it's firing, and you've got the systems in place, you can feel good about it. But you know how that goes, Scott. You've lived
Yep.
that. You've lived that life too.
Yep. Well, I got you beat by a couple years as far as how long I've been in business. My IT service business is 22 years old. And I want you to know, I remember trying to come up with a name riding down the road and like, what do I want to call this thing? There's so many thought processes that go behind a good name of a company. And I remember still going to the Secretary of State for South Carolina, because that's where we're based out of, and getting an LLC for the first time, what that entailed. And heck, that was the easy part. I thought the name was the hard part and the LLC and getting it established. But everything you just mentioned, you got to wear 10 different hats. And when you decide to start a business, most people who decide to start a business, if they've never owned a business before, they don't really understand all that stuff. They
You,
just they just know they want to be a business owner. It's glamorous.
so I gotta share with you my favorite hat to wear
Hmm.
is this hat. You know,
Okay.
that's my captain's hat. It's my favorite hat to wear. There you go.
There you
And
go.
yeah, so when I'm not wearing my BTSG hat, I'm wearing my captain's hat.
Captain's hat. You just need a patch for your eye.
There you
And
go. There you go.
perfect. Well, that's awesome. So, you've got this long-term IT business in northern Texas that you've started. If it's anything like mine, it didn't happen overnight.
No,
And
it didn't.
I am so thrilled for communities like my own IT Business Owners Group, because I have to tell you, I would still be running that rat race of being a break fix technician if it wasn't for IT Business Owners Group, because my own community is what, you know, made me turn the corner and stop charging by the hour and start charging monthly recurring revenue. I would love to tell you that I was smart enough to do that in the beginning, but I wasn't. So, it
None of
all.
us were.
I know. It's like it seems like such an easy thing now, but why did we run that race like we did before? I don't know. We've had a lot of success in converting those old break fix customers, though, over to manage. Once we explain the concept that, our old way of business, we always we made money when you were down. We don't like that.
Yep.
We don't like making money when you're down. We want to make money and to keep you up always. So, it wasn't too
So
hard
tell
of a
me, Scott.
sale.
So
Yeah.
tell me, Scott, and converting those break fix customers, like when you already had that relationship, right?
Hmm.
That's easier because you know who to talk to. You're gonna go in, you're gonna talk to them. It's like, look, you're spending X amount of money when you're down, but
Hmm.
how much more valuable would it be if I just kept you up all the time? And
Yep.
you had that, and those are the easier conversations. The harder conversations are when you run out of those referrals or you run out of those customers, right?
Yep.
And you need to go and talk to people that you don't know.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's a harder conversation, right?
Leads.
So, I'm sorry.
Those are leads. Yeah. You
Yeah,
need
yeah.
leads.
So,
You need
you
new
you get a
business.
lead and you're like, okay, it's a completely cold lead. They may have heard of you at a chamber event through top mind awareness or something, but they really don't know you. They don't like you, they don't know you, they don't trust you, right? And you've got to have that conversation with them, right? And turn that corner. And what has been your method of doing that?
Um, I think it's all about putting yourself out there. For a
Yeah.
long time, I was a BNI member. We've got some great clients over BNI. I did that for a while, and quite frankly, got tired of getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and doing those early morning meetings, because I really, by 9 o'clock, my phone was ringing, and I couldn't sit in a meeting during the day. So, I had to go for the early morning meetings, but that got old after a while. And, I probably should get back into doing some kind of networking, but right now, I have not done that lately. So it's time. It's time. How about you? Do you do any chamber events or anything like that?
So, it's one of the reasons I came up with Pipsqueak Network Scanner for my own business because,
Yep.
um, we do chamber events and we do the top of mind networking. Like here's the Steve Haviland show, razzle dazzle,
Yeah.
all of that. But then it's like, okay, what can I do to start that conversation? Right. Besides just showing up and being like, hey, you want to buy something? You want to buy managed services today? And how does that work for you in the real world? Right. No one just wakes up in the morning and goes like, today I'm going to spend 5 grand a month on managed services. Like it doesn't happen, right?
I'd
So
like their number if they do.
yeah, right. And hey, I'll take that customer all day long, but they're just
Yeah.
really hard to find. So, how do you start those conversations? How do you begin to have those conversations when people they may have heard of you, they may not have heard of you, they may be completely cold. And how do you have those conversations? How do you even open that door? And so some of us are out there and we're smiling and dialing and we're cold calling. And, have I told you about, the Lord and Savior today? Or whatever it is, right? Have I told you about my business today?
Yeah.
Um, and then some of us are doing the networking and the top of mind stuff and just trying to be practice what I call our everywhereness. We're trying to be everywhere so that people see us. And so when they have a problem, they think about us first. Um, and then some of us are trying to do digital marketing, and some of us are trying to do social media, and some of us are going Google, Google and Facebook ads. And what you hear in the MSP community for a lot of people is it doesn't work, right? Marketing doesn't work. And so, I go back to how do you have that conversation? And so this has been my secret weapon. It's really worked for me, and I'm going to share it with you right now and with our audience. Um, what I do is I do a preliminary uncredentialed scan with Pipsqueak.
Okay.
And this is uncredentialed. I have no username. I have no passwords. I'm just looking at them from the outside in, and I'm running a scan.
Okay.
And
On their
um,
domain.
on their domain,
Yeah.
so I'm seeing their TLS, I'm seeing their HTTPS, I'm seeing their DMARC, I'm seeing their MX records, like because all of that's public, right? And I'm seeing all of it. And then I can go to them, and I'm pulling up, some information. If I can pull emails off of their website, which a lot of times we can, I'm running that through, through our scanner, and I'm getting back, breach reports and things like that if we're finding things on the dark web. And so I can pull that into a very nice, very pretty report, and I can say, here, friend, I want to give you this. I don't expect anything in return. I just want you to be aware of it. If you'd like to talk to me over coffee about it, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. And it's incredible how many people actually want to have a cup of coffee with you when you don't expect anything in return and you're giving them something valuable. And you're saying, hey, just look at this thing. There's some problems here you should know about. I'm being a good neighbor. I'm trying to lift everyone up. And that's what Pipsqueak is about, right? And at the end of the day, the software is there so you can run the uncredentialed scan and you can meet with them and break the ice, and then you can run the credentialed scan and get all that meaty technical data that you need to take the relationship further and then into contract, right? And that's
Nice.
that's what it's about.
So the name Pipsqueak, I know there's a story behind it. What
Yeah.
was the story?
Yeah, so we were using this software 2 or 3 years ago. It was very early. It's much more mature now, but 2 or 3 years ago, we started building this out and using it. And I thought, look, if I ever wind up selling this stuff to other MSPs, I'm going to be the pipsqueak on the block. I'm going to be like the little guy who doesn't have any money, and I'm going to be like out there almost for the poor, and because we're not a Kaseya, we're an MSP, right? We're
Right.
we're not, any of these big guys. We are an MSP, and so I thought about that. And then I just I kept on thinking about that, and the name stuck. It's like this is the network scanner for the pipsqueak, for the little guy who wants to grow their business and get ahead. And
But the
that's
Pipsqueak mouse, the logo,
yeah.
has a cape and everything. I mean, he's a superhero.
He's a superhero. I can't, I don't want to infringe on a certain mouse that is mighty, but yeah, I mean, because, and that's right. And our logo, our little pipsqueak mouse, he's a superhero, and just like a lot of MSPs are, and guys, look, I don't mean to blow smoke about this. I mean, this is just the reality of the situation here, right? We work our tails off to make sure our customers are happy at the end of the day.
Yep, that's it.
And And we are superheroes in a number of ways, keeping them safe and secure and, rocking along and productive. And, that's the name of the game in our industry. So, yeah, it seemed like it was appropriate. Like we're the little guy, but we punch above our weight and we make sure that we are taking care of our customers.
So when you first let's get back to to those leads you're talking about and how you
Yeah.
deploy Pipsqueak. So when you first meet a potential customer, do you just ask them for their domain or like how
Ask
does
them for
that
their business card.
conversation? Huh?
Ask them what they do.
Yeah. So
Hey Scott, what do you do for a living?
I host
That's it.
live streams.
Really? So what's that about? Tell me about your live streams.
Yeah, so I own a social media company, I guess you could call it. I've struggled. ITBOG is over 10 years old now, and I've struggled to be able to tell people exactly what it is. It's a Facebook group, but it's so much more.
So
It's a whole
website?
community.
You have a website for that thing?
Yeah,
I'd like to check
yeah,
that out.
yeah. ITBOG.org.
So see, now I've got your website and I've got your business card and I've got your information and I've had a 15-second conversation with you. And now I'm like, you know what? I got something I think would help you. Could we schedule some coffee maybe in a week or so, and I'll bring you a report about all your tech, from the outside looking in, from the public perspective. I mean, maybe give you some ideas on what to do better.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. But I got to ask you a question. How does
Yeah.
AI play into all this?
Well, so are you asking me out of the role play or in the role play?
I'm asking you all around. Do you
Okay.
use AI with Pipsqueak to
Yeah.
assist you? And from an outsider looking in, one thing that we're getting wind of, and I think the FBI just made a statement about it, that
Mhm.
it's not it's coming immediately where the breaches are getting ready to just skyrocket all because of AI now doing the work of the would-be hacker before. Now it's not someone keying in front of the keyboard, it's actually AI busting in.
Yeah, no, I think that you're absolutely right. And actually, there was a study done on that about 8 months ago now, where Anthropic did some work on that and demonstrated a live hack. 90% powered by AI. There's a couple of breaches uh, that came out of China where they were just doing proof of concept and demonstrating that type of capability. There's been one where they use Codex, where I saw that. So, there's a lot of threat there, right? So to answer your question with regard to Pipsqueak, we use AWS Bedrock, which, as you know, AWS, as we all know, is a big hyperscaler, and Bedrock is their secure and private AI infrastructure that you can use. And so when a report comes in, you have the option within Pipsqueak to use our AWS Bedrock or your own model. If you're hosting your own model or you want to use your OpenAI or what have you, you can do that as well. And you have the choice A or B. Or C, you don't have to use AI at all, and you can still generate a report. So
Okay.
I found that the AI generated reports are incredibly powerful and incredibly versatile. And it's one of the newest features that we've introduced to Pipsqueak, because it used to be, you know, you could scan the environment, and then you had a choice. You either have this kind of cookie cutter report that you spat out, which always showed the exact same thing and you couldn't tailor it at all. Or you spent hours, taking the scan data and massaging it into a report that was specifically about your customer. And what we found that AI, the use case in our product for AI has been that we take the scan data, we put it in a private and secure model. We give it to a private and secure model as structured JSON. And then what we output is a report that is not only tailored to the customer and talks about the customer's environment, but also helps in plain language to explain what we're talking about versus doing the old the worst thing any of us can do, which is technobabble, right?
Right.
um so that's how we use AI today. How do we report on AI is also important, because from a AI reporting perspective, what we're doing is we are scanning the cache on the local host, right? And we're saying, okay, um, based off of the host that we're scanning or the network that we're scanning, those computers have visited OpenAI and they visited Claude and they visited this and they visited that. And I can see the network traffic and I can see the usage patterns. And so is there shadow AI here? Is there shadow, IT here? What is approved for the environment? If the only thing that's approved for the environment, for instance, is Copilot, but you see some user like plotting it up, as forgive the euphemism, but plotting it up, haha. You can now have that data to go and say, hey, this is a problem, right? And we need to address this problem. So that's part of our uncredentialed scanning, or probably our credentialed scanning, where we have usernames and passwords and whatnot. So that's on that side. You're not going to see that on an uncredentialed scan, but um, it is very much part of how we are implementing AI detection mechanisms right now.
Well, AI is the new buzzword in tech, and I think it's here to stay. I think it's probably going to be bigger than the cell phone boom. I definitely think that, like I said, with it being here to stay, it has, heck, I use it in ITBOG when we have new members. And they answer questions. We always ask them, like, do you own an IT company? Yes or no? But it's Facebook. And
Yep.
half the people reply, half the people just ignore it. We go through and still vet every member, but I've got ChatGPT trained to go through and if I just ask it, does so and so own this company? And it'll tell me validated IT business owner. I mean, it goes through and even digs deep and does research for records with the state to see if they have if they're a registered business owner with that state, all kind of stuff. So, I definitely think it has its pros, but for its pros, it definitely has its cons. And I think those folks in IT who don't understand it in the very beginning are going to have a problem with their clients, because I think their clients are just going to go crazy. Can you imagine a HIPAA environment where one of the employees starts uploading patient data into Claude or
That's
into
actually already
ChatGPT?
happened. Yeah,
Not at my place.
so yeah, one of the things that I like about one of the things that I really think about often is how do we as MSP owners stay top of mind,
Mhm.
right? And Pipsqueak is part of that, because when you produce a report, you can stay top of mind more easy with your prospect or your client. Whether that's a QBR report or that's a pre-sales report, credentialed, or that's just a lead report where it's completely uncredentialed. It's an easy top of mind play. But the other thing that really helps with the top of mind play is talking about these new technologies with your clients, right?
Yep.
And about a year ago was when we started those conversations with our clients, and we would go client by client by client, every QBR, and we're like, so what's your AI strategy? And, the answer we get back is, well, we don't really have one. We haven't thought about it. We know that some people are using this and some people are using that. And, you know, and I remember the very first one that I had, because, like most things, it sticks in your head. And the very first one was with a nonprofit organization that does, they take in youth that are aging out of the foster care system.
Hmm.
And that's their mission. And they were like, well, I know some people are using it to check their emails and to rewrite emails, and I know some people are using it to, to look at some report data. Well, these are people with this is an organization that has those HIPAA requirements. So I'm like, so you're putting your kids' data into the AI. Well, some people are. I know that because they're just using the service by themselves. I'm like, so you realize, and then you have to go and explain the concept of the data leak, right? And okay, you're leaking data, and let's plug that hole. And if you want an AI strategy, let's put an AI strategy together. But even a year ago, we were behind the ball because it came out in 22, right? Everyone, kind of saw it in 21, 22. So, um, we were, in 2025 having these conversations like seriously with our clients, and we were already behind the eight ball. So, yeah, I agree with you, Scott. If you're not talking about AI right now with your prospects, but most certainly with your clients and with the people who are seriously your leads, you need to be having those conversations. And I'll go back to Pipsqueak, and we can help you to have those conversations because we can show that shadow AI usage.
So Pipsqueak actually goes in and like you call it shadow AI usage.
Yeah,
It uncovers those questions automatically just off the
yeah,
domain.
that's right. And so
Wow.
what we collect is browser history, right? And so if we collect browser history and we scrape browser history and we see that, look, you've spent 8 hours in the past, 10 days, just as an example,
Yeah.
on the Chat GPT website, you were doing something there, right? And
Right.
so we can say with some confidence that you have been using this AI product.
So
And
how does Pipsqueak go in from the outside
it doesn't. So that
externally?
So,
Okay.
so we have those two modes, right? The first
Okay.
mode is that uncredentialed scan where we
Okay.
have no information, and we're not talking about AI there. We're really talking about what can we see from the public side, right?
Okay.
And then once we have more of a relationship with that customer, Scott, you've seen the public report. Would you be interested in us running a deeper report and seeing your entire environment so that we can give you a more detailed look at where you might be able to
Got it.
improve?
Okay.
And then we're going to run that credentialed scan where you give us your information, right? And we'll be able to read the information from the host that we scan and pull that back in.
So you'd have to have the user credentials for that host to be able to
Right.
scrape that data. Okay. Awesome.
So typically, we currently are approaching that with on-site scans, but one of our newest features, it hasn't been released yet. It's still in testing, but I saw it last Friday. And what we do is we take an executable and we can send it to the client, right? And the client, forwards that email because it's just an email, forwards that email with that link to, their top people. And what you wind up with is you wind up with a scan from, your computer and your COO's computer and your CFO's computer and, this and that, your executive assistant's computer. And then we aggregate all that data together and we produce a report that doesn't have everything, but it has the things on the most important local host in that environment. And that can be a very, very powerful report. Yeah.
Be an eye opener. So what I'm getting, Steve, is that the initial scan of the public scan, like you called it, that
Yep.
is agentless,
That's
and you
completely,
you
yep.
you just need the domain name. And
That's right.
if you want to dive deeper, if they like what they see, want to dive deeper, that opens the door for the agent scan. That's when you deploy the agent on the network. It goes through, scrapes all the information from the internal LAN.
Well, interestingly enough, all three of the scan modes are completely agentless.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
think about an agent lives on your computer and then constantly sends telemetry back out, right?
Okay.
So we don't do that. We scan one time and we run it from your technician's laptop, or it's a self-destructing executable that runs one time from that local host. And so
So it
that's
is
much
an
more,
executable in some fashion.
yeah, it's
Okay.
not an agent, it's not a memory stay resident. To date myself, a terminate stay resident or memory stay resident. We don't use those terminologies anymore,
I've
do we?
never heard of that. That's a new one on me.
But yeah, we're not terminate stay resident. So, we're not living in memory. We're not constantly sending the telemetry back out like an agent would. Like if you think about like an RMM agent that's sitting there on the machine, constantly sending that telemetry, right?
Gotcha. All right. Cool. So what's been the biggest success story you've seen with Pipsqueak so far? Not for you, but for other MSPs, because I know you've got other MSPs involved in this and they're using it.
Yeah.
What feedback have you heard back? Have you heard in any good stories you can tell?
The number one thing that has been valuable to me and that I just really appreciate our family for is, and I, it's the channel is a family, right? In a lot of ways, and so forgive the terminology, but that's the terminology I'll use. From the other MSPs that we work with, has been just helping to improve the product, and we know how we do business and what we need to be successful, right? Because we are an MSP and we know that. But it's interesting to learn, like, we've been doing business this, in this pattern, but this other MSP over here in Florida does business a completely different way. It prospects a different way, its target market is different, the way that it services its clients is different. And so, they're like, okay, well, can you do this and this and this and this and this? And well, no, we didn't think about doing any of that, right? We built it to do this thing. And they're like, well, that's great, but we needed to do these things. And it's that type of feedback that, it's the lifeblood of any, SaaS enterprise. And that's been probably the biggest blessing, is just being able to have friends and friendly people in the MSP industry that would give me that feedback, and really in a no holds barred way, like, we need this, right? The second thing that I would say is, it's been really nice to be part of, like, actually being able to help people structure their offers, because I maintain, like, in the MSP industry, that is probably like the number one thing that we're missing so often, is like, what is the compelling offer that we are going to make to our prospect that's going to get them to go to the next step, right? Because it's not backup, and it's not
Yeah.
RMM, and it's not even the package of, like, I'm going to deliver these 10 things to you. It's what problem am I going to solve, and how am I going to solve it for you, right? And what does that offer look like? And it's been being able to use the reports in such a way that we can understand how to construct offers better for our clients. Like, there's a MSP that recently won, a client of ours that recently won a deal for an office move. And you think office move,
Okay.
like, that's a project, right? It's a one-time thing. They're going to move from point A to point B. But he did it with Pipsqueak, right? And he's like, okay,
Nice.
you've got these
New customer
assets.
too, right?
Yeah, as a new customer, net new.
Okay. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
he
okay.
was advertising an office move for his MSP. Like, that's the offer. I will move. I will help you move your office, and um, how he was going to go in. He was going to go and run the site survey with Pipsqueak. Okay, it gives me all my assets. I know what everything I've got to move now, And then, he was going to structure all of that. And he puts the offer together. He advertises the offer. He gets this client. They're moving. They're going to move from point A to point B. He moves them. Does the scan on the other end. Look how everything's up and running. Look, it's all pretty. Um, and actually fixes a couple of problems as he's rebuilding the network at the new site, and is able to show that. And then he gets on the back end as a managed service client because he did such a good
Yay.
job moving them and solving the initial problems they had, right? So it's like, how do you build those offers in a way that resonates with your client, that is easy to deliver for you, and is going to turn into MRR at the end of the day. And so those are the things that are probably most meaningful to me and maybe most top of mind to me. The one with the office move, I heard about that last week, so that was pretty cool.
Well, do you have a demo of a scan you'd like to share your screen and possibly show off for the audience?
Yeah, well, so what I'll do is I'll show off my website,
All
and
right.
I'll just show off kind of how one of the ways uh, that we use Pipsqueak in our own business. And
Won't you, can you run ITBOG.org
yeah, let's do it.
and see what
So
it comes up
you see
with?
my can you see my website right here,
Yeah,
BTSG?
absolutely.
All right. So if we scroll down here a little bit, we've got, hey, check your company cyber score, right? And so we're going to just go itbog.com, right?
No, .org.
Oh, .org. Sorry,
Yep.
.org, right? Okay. And we're just going to hit the scan. And this is what it looks like when it's running live.
By the way,
And
I've never
so it's
seen this before. We hadn't done one on ITBOG, so
okay. Well, let's see what it looks like. Are you nervous?
no, not really. It should
So
be pretty good.
So it's gonna it typically takes a moment to pull all the data, but it'll pop up with our report in just a second. You'll see how the lead generation part of this works as well, right? So hey, this is pretty good. 77 out of 100. You got a B plus security score.
All right.
Um, okay. So a couple of things, right? And I want to demonstrate like how you would actually generate a lead off of this, right? Because
Okay.
anyone could run this off of your site, right?
Yep.
So we've looked at 7 categories. We've got 25 total findings here. There's only 5 critical or high things. It's B plus, and we see that you've got support at itbog.org, which is
Yep.
found in a public breach on Canva. We see that you could uh, have a DNS sec isn't enabled, but you could enable that if you wanted to, right? But we start to scroll down and we say, hey, unlock the full report. And we start to kind
Okay.
of, gray some things out at the bottom. So you can click and unlock the full report. Now, this goes to 2 places. This goes first to your Pipsqueak tenant. So
Okay.
you would be able to see this in your Pipsqueak tenant. And then we have an integration to go high level. Some people call that growably. Some people, call that there's a bunch of different,
Sure.
white labels of go high level, wiser CRM and other things like that. It's all go high level. And
Okay.
anyway, so we have an integration. You pop this directly into go high level and create an opportunity there so it works in your funnel. So I'm just going to put my own information in here.
Yeah.
Um, I'm going to put a 940-555-5555 because that I will give you my email and BTSG. And so you'll unlock it, and it unlocks it. And so, okay, we can see that you've got your DMARC, we've got your mail providers 365, your SPF is looking good, your
So this is
HTTPS and
definitely one of the
SSL.
better ones.
Yeah. So, all of this is enabled, you're missing some security headers on your website, not a big deal. You may have some risk of typo squatting, that is possible.
Now, what'd you
but
call that?
it's typo squatting. And this is where
Typo
you
squatting.
have a domain that's kind of similar to your domain,
Ah,
that people might use. So you have some risk there. It's not super high risk, but it gives you something to check on, right? To say, hey, go look at this. It might be something to look at. And then we wrap up the report. And your client can download the report. It downloads as a PDF, with your information on it, and that's exactly how it works. And
awesome.
like I
Well, can
said,
you
you get the
download and send me
information.
that?
I'm sorry.
Can you download and send me that, or send me a link to the
Yeah,
download?
yeah.
I want to review that afterwards.
I'll download it right now for you, and I'll send it over to you in email.
Because
But you'll
as an
see,
IT guy, I got to get that up to an A plus.
there you go. But so here we are. It shows the date that we ran it, and this is the PDF,
Okay.
and it shows all the stuff. So yeah, we'll send that over to you.
That dadgum Canva breach, it got everybody.
It did. It did. So anyway, that's our uncredentialed scan, and uh, and of course we have our full scanner, and I'll share that with you here.
Sure.
Um, let's see. So this is, are you able to see my screen with
Yeah.
the Pipsqueak 1481 Pro? So
Yep.
this is our full scanner. There is a community edition of this scanner, so you can try this out for free. And you can run localhost scan, you can run your local network scan, an Active Directory scan, Microsoft 365, and a PII sensitive information scan. Of course, the more scans you run, the more time it takes to run them. So, just be aware of that because if you're running a quick scan like a local host scan, that's lickety split. That's quick, right? But if you're running a PII scan, you're looking for data inside of files, and that can be much slower.
Right.
So just be aware of what you're running. But yeah, you're able to run all of these types of scans, and then you're going to bring them back into our Pipsqueak website, our app.pipsqueaknetscan.com, and be able to run a report.
I got a
And that's
question for
exactly how
you.
it works.
Have you ever ran into any situations where you try to run Pipsqueak and it's blocked or won't run because of antivirus or something like that?
So yeah, we ran into that in the early days, and actually resolved it at the beginning of the year. But we
Okay.
did have a problem with that for about 6 months when we were trying to kind of productize Pipsqueak, because we weren't registered with VirusTotal and we were not registered with Microsoft ISV. So we uh, we had to register with Microsoft. We had to, submit Pipsqueak to VirusTotal, and we've gotten past that. But that was a serious hump. We Defender was actively blocking us, and
Wow.
once we got past that, I would tell you, I was breathing a lot easier. I was like, okay, I feel better now. But you know, and that's a really good point because okay, if you think about running a software like this, right? And you think about you're at a customer site and you're in a competitive environment, they've got an incumbent MSP. If you can run Pipsqueak and they don't see it, they don't know it, they don't recognize it, that's a great selling point,
Yep.
right? Look, your people weren't on top of this. I was able to get all this data.
Right. You didn't notify
You
your
know,
previous or your current IT company that I'm running this scan, and I was able to come in here and exfiltrate all the data.
that's right. And
Yep.
what a great selling point that is if they
True.
don't have any ring fencing or blocking or application blocking or anything like that, right? Um, but at the same token, if you aren't able to run it, well, you're still able to get some data, right? It's not a complete loss. You're still able to get some data, and the data you're able to get is good, but you're also able to just have that really good conversation with the client and say, you know what, your current guys, I don't want to throw shade. They are doing a good job. I think I could do better in these areas. So it helps you either way. You're the good guy either way.
Gotcha. Well, I'm really impressed with everything you've put together with Pipsqueak. I can tell you spent a long time, you and your team, developing this, and it shows. It's nicely polished. So, well, Steve, I've got one final question for you. Unless there's something else you want to share about Pipsqueak with the audience, my last question is, if we've got an IT business owner who is watching the show and they are interested in teaming up or signing up for Pipsqueak, what is the best way they can get started?
Well, we've got the website, pipsqueaknetscan.com. And,
Okay.
my advice would be just go download the community edition. It's got some, of course, some things that you can't do, like we don't have the uncredentialed scanning as an offer on the community side, and we don't have the lead magnet stuff there. So there are some limitations on the community side, but go and download it and run the community edition, and see if you like it, see if it's something that you think would be useful, and that's completely free. And then if you decide, hey, this is really for me, I like this and I want to go deeper, well, you can go and subscribe right on the website. But as a special guest or a special offer to anyone watching today, because Pipsqueak retails right now for $250 a month, right? But
Okay.
as a special offer for anyone watching ITBOG today, and reaching out to me, if you want to reach out to me directly, I will give you Pipsqueak Pro $99 per month for the lifetime of your contract.
Wow. You can't beat that. That's a heck of a
So that
deal. Heck
that
of an
is that's a
offer.
so and I will do that for the lifetime of your engagement with Pipsqueak, and we'll get it done for you, and we'll take care of you too. So but that's my offer for your audience. And yeah, the best way to get in touch with me, you can reach out to me. I'm active in the ITBOG group. You see me posting there, but look me up as Steve Haviland and shoot me a DM.
Yep. Sounds great. Well, Steve, any last thoughts you want to share?
Now, Scott, just two things maybe. The first is thank you for building this community.
Yeah.
Um, you know, it's good to have a place to congregate and to be able to ask questions and things like that. So thank you for building it. The second thing would be, just I really like being part of the MSP community. I've been part of it for nearly 20 years now, and it is a family. It is. I'm gonna get all misty eyed here. It's there's there's that brother-in-law occasionally that you don't want to talk to on Facebook, but otherwise, it's a really great place to be. So, thank the audience, and thank the community members for making it a good place and a welcome place.
All right. Well, one final thing, and I promise I'll let you go. Tell me about tell us about MSP School. I know that's your own community that you're kind of building. Yeah, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about that as well.
Yeah, so MSP School is on the school.com platform.
Okay.
So you can find it at mspschool.com, and it'll redirect you over to school. Um, SKOOL. So it's not, the traditional spelling of school, but our goal there is to build a community really very similar to ITBOG in flavor, in collaboration and in flavor, to offer training that is MSP centric, not necessarily Pipsqueak centric, although we do have that as well. But to offer training that is MSP centric, things that have worked for us, things that have solved problems for us, things that have solved problems for others as well. And I'll go back to that offer, right? How do you make an offer as an MSP? Because I was in a room yesterday, and it was a training on professional networking, right? And it was called "Your Network is Your Net Worth." And at the next table was another MSP that I compete with, and they go and they're like, okay, and everyone's explaining what they do, and it gets to their turn, and they say, um, well, we do firewalls and help with computers, and we do telephones and all and they're like stumbling through like this one thing after
It was
another,
like,
and it's like and at the end of it, it's like you wind up with this laundry list of things that you could say, like I do all of these things, right? Which kind of goes against basic business concepts of like do one thing, do it really well, and focus on it, right? Um, which is a challenge for us as engineers, as MSP owners, as MSP salespeople. So, um, and so one of the things that how I approach it, and that's written in the MSP school training, is um, we help with office technology. Stop, just stop right there, right?
yep,
Just stop. We help with office technology
yep,
because those two words encompass the laptop, encompass the firewall,
the
encompass the
printer,
switch, encompass the desktop and
yep,
the everything else that we do, right? We help with office technology. And you just stop and they get it and they understand it and it's easy. And okay, you may not help with all office technology. You may not be licensed to do cameras in your state. Okay, that's fine. You still help with office technology. you
yep.
know? And
If you don't do
and so
cameras, you have a referral, I'm sure, that you can connect them with.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're
So,
still the guy to give
it
the answer.
and so that's what our community is really about for MSP School. It's about being able to help people answer those problems, to provide that education, or to be able to help people answer those questions that, especially when you're new to the industry, you might not really know how to answer that because you're stumbling over yourself. Um, and it's to train people up how to give offers and to how to do sales and how to run a business successfully. And it's got some of the SOPs and the statement, the systems that we've built over 20 years in business. So it's that type of thing, right? And so I'm passionate about it. I try and be active in it frequently. I do fail at that sometimes, but I do try. and just like all of us fail at things sometimes, I guess. But that's the community that we're building, and that's what I'm really passionate about.
Well, congrats on that. And I got to tell you, I have a great moderation staff. My wife helps me, but it does take an army to run a big community. And, there are times when, I want to go on vacation. I don't want to look at my phone, but, somebody's having a birthday. That's one of the things I like to do. I like to wish birthdays. So, it is a job. So my hat's off to you. I wish you the best of luck with that. And where can people go to sign up for that again? MSP School, SKOOL.
Yep, mspschool.com.
Okay, awesome. Well, listen, Steve, I appreciate your time today. It's been wonderful talking about office technology and Pipsqueak Scanner.
Yeah,
We'll
it's
do it
been good, Scott.
again.
Thank you for your
I
time.
hope you enjoy the
Okay,
rest of your day. Have a good one.
hey, you
We'll
too,
see
buddy.
you. All
Take
right.
care,
Bye
guys.
bye.